Chloe's here.
Chloe's here. Sex,
Hey,
magic, and
Chloe.
poetry. I put Roger's thing as sex, magic, and poetry. I figured, he'd appreciate that.
He's all about sexification.
He is. And sizzle pie. So this is going to be a big show.
Sexification and sizzle pie and also poetry.
And poetry. So we have Raj Law. We have Kelsey Bigelow. We are literally, it's everything. I'm not saying anything.
Missed her.
I'm not saying it.
Not saying what?
I'm not even starting the show.
You have to start the show. You can't.
Backpack show. You're not my real dad.
You're so contrary.
I don't know. I woke up on the underside of the bed. You know what they
Your
say?
dad's here.
My dad. my biological father, Steve Brogan. Hey, Dad, how are you? What a show we're gonna have today. I feel really good about it. I mean, I have poetry questions I need to know.
I think a lot of us wrote poetry at one time or another. Very few of us would actually stand up and perform it like Kelsey Bigelow does.
Paul's back. Yeah, I'm standing up and performing poetry is, if anyone's ever done open mic night, for instance, it's delightful. You get a chance to wait until maybe 1 a.m. until they actually start knowing you and put you on a little sooner. And it's just, it's the best. It's like stand up in a lot of ways. And Mr. Lawson is a fan of stand up. So we have those kinds of things in common.
It's fun. I watched one of the videos of Kelsey Bigelow doing her poetry at like a, whatever they call the things that you go to say your poetry, and you could hear the comments of people. So I'm looking at it from the perspective of whoever's shooting it on their phone, and you can hear them going, "Oh yeah," like they totally were. They got it. Like they got what she was saying. It was so cool. I love the perspective.
I don't know what they call it. They call it different things. Like if there's a lot of graffiti in the background, it's a slam. And if there's not, and there's a lot of white people having pumpkin spice latte, it's not. I don't know what they call white people.
Chloe wants to hear my poetry. No.
I have one called Equus Equus, Ode to a 13-year-old Girl. I like horse. Horse are neat. Okay, there you go. That's mean. My poem. Yeah, well, that was the point. When I was a kid, I was like a writer, and I was like thrashy about the poets.
So I was like in grade school, and they made us write a poem with all one-syllable words, and so mine was "Let the cold winds blow." I didn't want to do like Matt the cat or whatever.
I always think of
Len is here.
Jim Davis, who wrote poetry inside of Garfield, and this is the only poem I can recite from heart. I have a buddy. My buddy's a toad. He's kind of muddy. He's flat on the road, but buddy's my buddy to stay until he's peeled up and sailed away. There you go. So now when we get Kelsey on, it's gonna be so much better. I'm bringing Raj.
Starting with Raj. I'm bringing Raj. What you're doing?
Well, Raj, everything's gonna be fine now. Hello, Raj Law.
Hello.
How are you?
Can we?
Thank God you're here.
Yeah, we could. You could swear.
Holy shit, that intro was amazing.
Did you like that?
Yeah, it was very metal.
Thank you.
Very metal.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be like Dave Chappelle, and I figured he likes metal, so I could be like him.
He likes everything.
He does. He does.
Speaking of, look at that. Bam.
I'm looking right at it. I think that's delightful. You've had a chance to see him in the Misery, I think, as well, right? Have you been? Or are you just from a distance, or you've been there? I can't remember.
I went to Ohio. We went twice this summer. It was very nice. It was pretty much the only thing happening that was worth paying money for during the pandemic. So who would have known Yellow Springs, Ohio would be the most happening place in America? But it's just in the middle of a cornfield eating tacos and laughing. So loved it.
When you're not in Ohio, you help people out with fitness. I met you.
How can we be off the rails? It's 9:04.
It's perfect. My fault. I met Raj because Julian Smith said I should talk to Raj, and of course I did exactly what I do in those moments and didn't. And then Jack paid for an hour of Raj's time or so, or a couple hours of Raj's time. I don't remember. And so then I had to go because she'd already paid. So then I went and saw Raj. And it was like the single best consultant experience in fitness I'd ever had in my life.
Oh, that
single
makes me
best.
Smile.
Single
we had
best.
So much fun.
We did, because Raj, and this is so Raj does fitness stuff, and Raj helps people get better in lots of different ways. And what you said to me was like, what are you into? What kind of things do you think are cool? And we were just kind of, we were vibing on like stuff, and it made me want to do it. Now I've lifted weights a gazillion times in a gym. I was in a rut. I didn't want to go anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you did it. I want you to kind of use that as a springboard into talking about what you do to get people into what they're into, and what you're out there. What's your mission in the world right now?
Well, first of all, it was so fun hanging out with you. That took me back. But the main thing I really do is just help people not beat themselves up while they're trying to get in shape, because that's usually the narrative. It's like you decide to eat better or work out. Then the moment you don't do the thing you want to do, that's when you just like your inner demons just come in and just kick you in the head and yell at you. And then you go, oh, well, that sucked. I guess I shouldn't do that again. And then you don't. And then you feel worse. So it's like a loop that people get stuck in of just not feeling good about what they're doing, and then compounding it with lots of guilt and shame and regret and all sorts of things that at the end of the day, it doesn't really help on the journey. It just kind of makes it heavier. It's like if you're going on a hike, then you just add 5 backpacks filled with books. I don't know why you have that many backpacks, but that's what you're wearing. It's not going to make the hike any easier, and then it's going to make you just want to quit. So my whole goal is just to help people get out of their own way and be nice to themselves while they try to change their life. It's a good message, I say.
Yeah. So first few months into COVID, I used to be able to make the joke that I was going to put on my COVID-19. Yeah. But now we're still in here. I'm working on my COVID-38. I just doubled it because I just figured I might as well keep going.
See goals.
There you go. Population 3702. So you had been doing this solo for quite some time, and then you joined a super group. This is like, if Queen and Michael Jackson and I don't know, Metallica got together.
with some, there we go. There we go.
This is all you need to really know. You just have to see naked Mark with a bunch of unicorn stuff on.
Yep.
And
look
at the right place.
Look at that ankle tan.
You got to keep your socks on. We're not heathens.
We're not animals here. Oh,
not that this is a big MFF ad, but let's make it a big MFF ad. What's the story?
So I met Mark and crew at a book release party in 2013. And just like you and me, we hit it off really well. They're just pretty much weirdos that are into fitness, which is what I am. So look at that chicken outfit, dude curling, people celebrating. That's pretty much what it's about. But MFF is really just a community of people that want to get better. And they call it the island of misfit toys from Toy Story. It's like people like that never felt included in like traditional gym classes or a regular gym. We just come together, get weird, celebrate each other, lift weights, talk about penises and or whatever else happens in the
Mari
name
wants
game.
to know, is this rated PG?
This called, the gym is very R, PG-13 to R, sometimes X. Back in the day it was X, but now we're all older. So thankfully we toned it down. There used to be dildos everywhere. Now there's only like one. So.
But they're really big ones because you got to get the toning.
Exactly.
I was going to say the first visit I personally had to MFF, the facilities to go to an event there were dildos laying around everywhere. It's like,
none of them were used.
And suddenly this all makes sense. There's some guests that I book and there's some guests that Chris books. And now I'm like, there it is. Yeah.
But Mari, we're talking about fitness, so it's technically PG.
See?
Pretty good. So Raj, the thing is though that everything there like is engineered. It's engineered to make people feel like, hey, you're all right, you're cool. You can have bad days here. You can not be here to try to lift the entire gym up off the ground. In an odd way, it's the real solution that Planet Fitness tried to solve for in their ads.
Yeah. They're like judgment-free zone, but really there's no systems to make that. The only system they have is the lunk alarm, which actually is filled with judgment. So
yeah, for the lunk. Sure.
Yeah. So
technically,
it's like, which is, and I think that's the magic at MFF is just, however you are, just show up as that and you'll be accepted and no one's going to shame you. Like some people come in there after not lifting for years and they're worried that people are gonna just like look at their weights and laugh at how like
They're all
puny.
gonna laugh at you.
And look at your little hands. Look at your little weight. Look at that. It's so sad. But no one does that. Like someone lifts 10 pounds and all of a sudden everyone's cheering and people are crying in class. And it's just.
See, can you just like not notice? That's all I want when I go to the gym is for you to not freaking notice me.
Away from me,
Yeah.
no direct eye contact.
Leave me alone.
Yeah. But
Don't look in my direction.
But that's the cool thing is like at the end of the day, people just want to be accepted. And
Right.
we also want to accept ourselves. So the more we can facilitate that, the easier all of it gets.
Now, I follow you on all of the various social networks, which are now popping up. So I follow you on all of them. One of the things that really caught my mind or caught my attention recently, and again, I've known you for years. So you know how it is like when your friends say stuff, you're just like, huh, you know, because you're just like, oh, he's doing his thing over there and I'm going to just support him, but I'm not going to pay attention, you know, because I don't need this. I'm fine.
It's not for me.
Pizza's
know
delicious,
me.
you know? But you were on this thing, and I asked you the question even just before doing the interview, like a couple days ago. I sent a quick message saying, "Well, then are you talking about that sort of intuitive eating thing?" And you said, "Not even that. Talk about your philosophy for people with eating, because I mean, even if they're not quite ready for the gym because of the masks, what's their eating story right now? What's the scenario you put people in?"
Yeah. So really, it's just about awareness initially, because a lot of the times people are so into like diet books and blogs that they're kind of looking for like the right way to do it or rules, which really it just keeps you focused on those rules. It doesn't really help you learn how to navigate like your hunger signals or learn the signals that your body's sending you. So the first thing I really just do is teach people to be more aware of just what's happening in their body while they're eating, after they're eating, during the day. Because once you're aware of what's going on, then you have like a base to make changes, which ultimately everyone wants to make. But it's like if you get too focused on the rules and like, oh, you got to eat 8 ounces of X and you can't eat these foods, it just keeps you distracted ultimately from the main focus, which is just connecting to yourself and like enjoying your life. Because if you're so focused on like restriction and the goal, it's hard to actually live your life and enjoy it and like go to parties and see cake and not freak out. Like at least one time a year, there's going to be a cake, probably your birthday, but also other people's birthdays. And I've had a lot of clients just so stressed that sometimes they don't even go to these parties because there's food there that isn't like on plan, which, you know, when you're living a good life and a life that you're connected to, there's no such thing as like good or bad foods. They're just foods that you might eat less of because they don't make you feel great, foods you eat more of because they make you feel really good, and then everything in between, and just learning how to navigate that.
See, I don't want to go to kids' birthday parties regardless. So I just use it as an excuse to be like, oh, sorry, I can't. I'm on this like really.
Oh my God. I've been to one kid's birthday party. I'm like, ugh, not fun.
I didn't even like doing my own kids' birthday parties. I was like, I'll give you $1,000 to not do it. And they would never take me up on it. I had to do the party. But I was for real.
Do they understand the concept of money enough to not want the party?
Apparently not, Raj. I don't know.
I'm waiting for someone to pay me to not have a party.
10 PlayStation games and we won't go. Yes.
PS5, I will not have this party.
That's the secret. I just need to put it in terms they could appreciate.
There you go. We were talking for a minute, and Kerry always points out we should never talk about what we talk about before we hit record. But one of the things that we were talking about was that you'd gotten a chance to go out to Ohio and see Dave Chappelle a couple times. Were you there for 846 or were you there for some of the other ones?
No, I was there after. So that was like a pop-up. It's challenging. Like the tickets go so fast and you have to be willing to drop everything and get a ticket or get a car and go. So I was obsessed. I was like, I'm refreshing the page. Yes, here we go. Because within 5 minutes they were gone.
That's wild. I have no real other follow-up questions. I just wanted to know what it was like.
So this is interesting. So Paul Miller is saying that I haven't refined my diet into a rigid structure, but I lost a lot of weight just by making my meals at home, like no commute, no carry out.
Yeah, that's the cool thing. Like once you find meals you enjoy or you start cooking for yourself, you know, you control what goes in it. Like who knows what they're putting. Usually it's butter and oils whenever you eat out because that tastes delicious. So like when Yeah, like I don't want a baked potato by itself when I go out to eat. Give me the butter and whatever bacon bits or cheese or whatever. So that's a great way to do it. And you don't even have to stress out. You just can find meals you like. You don't have to follow necessarily any rules, and you get to eat foods you love. Oh,
And the poor Deanna son tried to get those Chappelle ticks.
I'm sorry.
No luck.
Raj, if you were gonna give somebody kind of the index card or like the wallet card that said, you know, the philosophy, the Raj philosophy, what is that? What does that fit onto an index card these days? Because I know it changes.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good question. I have never thought about. Let's see what comes up. One, be nice to yourself. That's rule number one, because without that, it just goes to shit very quickly, probably within the first day. Two, just pay attention to what's happening, like what you're eating, why you're eating, and don't judge it, because usually when we judge stuff, that's when it also goes right to shit, because it's never a good judgment. It's usually, oh, you suck. You shouldn't be doing this. You're the worst. Three, just eat foods that make you feel good. Normally, like foods that make you feel good consistently, like, you know, cookies, they feel good going down. Usually it's the amount that really makes you feel like shit. Like 3 cookies, pretty good. A whole sleeve of cookies, probably not the best. You'll know soon enough when you just fall asleep on the couch or wherever you're at out of nowhere. And then also the last one would be just enjoy it. Enjoy what you're doing. Because if you're not enjoying it on some level, you're not going to stick with it. So whatever it takes for you to enjoy it, just prioritize that, because once you enjoy, then you'll start to see where else you can go. Like if you're reading books you hate, you're not going to like reading. But if you start out reading like graphic novels or whatever, then you can expand to stuff that you may otherwise have not read, because you have a base of enjoying doing the thing. So it's the same thing with fitness and eating, and just not freaking out.
So my friend Greg Narain, you two should actually know each other too. You have a very similar spirit and soul. I met Greg on a beer cast.
Look, we can barely see you now.
We can't even see Raj.
Okay, I like it. It's like my mask.
You're like Mike Wazowski with just.
I have a simple process. Greg says: refrain, manage your eating window, record, know what you're eating, and replace, find healthier alternatives. 4 things: reduce, lower your calories to lose.
The quadruple R.
Sounds like someone's writing a book.
I like that.
The chocolate chip cookie challenge.
See, that's the thing. There's always some goofy shit out there that comes out of nowhere, and you're like, what? Like, what was the cayenne cleanse that Beyonce was doing?
Oh no, right. I expect to get no physical benefit out of the cookie thing. Somebody wrote a thing saying that they had discovered through much experimentation the perfect chocolate chip cookie recipe, and I'm like, we'll see about that.
Oh,
now I feel like to make and try a whole bunch of recipes now.
I'll send the perfect one to you, because we found it years ago. The Jacques Torres New York Times chocolate chip cookie.
I will take it under advisement.
Well, Raj Law, if you could stick around, please do. We have a little panel-y bit at the very end, but thank you so much for being part of this.
Ooh. Thank you for having me. I love y'all.
Yeah,
this is great.
Away. Don't go away.
Back. Stick around. Oh, I love Raj Law.
I can tell. Love it.
I'm a Raj Law lover. That when I say lover like that, it's Gary Gulman. He goes, so when you're there and you're hanging out with your lover, he goes, no one ever says that. They say their boyfriend or their fiance.
Well, we don't invite anybody on the Backpack Show that we don't love. So
that is utterly and vividly true. Hey, let's do some sponsor things.
Hi, Fazia. That's just in time.
Hi, Fazia. Hey, look at that. Let's do them backwards. We're sponsored by PubSite. If you're an author and you've written that really awesome book that I can't believe you spent all that time writing. Oh my gosh, what a great book. People love that book. But no one's buying it because they don't even know where to find it, because they don't know that they should be checking out all your other works and all that. You should go to PubSite, pub-site.com. This thing is amazing. Doesn't cost any money. It's free, actually.
It's not free. There's a 14-day free trial. But after that, it's just $19.99 a month to make your own website. And it is really, really easy. And it has all the pieces you need to promote yourself as an author, to promote your book, to promote your appearances, all the things. Powered by FSB Associates, the very best book publicity people in the business. So go over to PubSite, pub-site.com. If you absolutely do not want to make your own website, they'll even do it for you.
For $2,000.
No, stop it. It's $499 to have them build you a website. And if you're a web designer and you're like listening to the show right now, you know that is crazy inexpensive.
If you're a web designer, what you could do for your author friends is tell them you'll totally do it for $2,000 and then just only pay
do their website.
$499.
Yeah. That would be dishonest. I don't know. That's not what you would do.
Never dishonest.
Stop it.
We're also sponsored by StreamYard. You can make your own show. You could have the sexification show if you wanted. See brogan.me/StreamYard. I'd tune in every day to watch Rajlaw's show. However, I do know that certain poets also have a StreamYard show, so they use it to make their podcast. See brogan.me/StreamYard. You can make your own show.
Yes. Bring your own Chris Brogan.
I love that.
You do go on a lot of shows, actually, so they could conceivably get their own Chris Brogan.
That's true.
I saw you on Deanna's here. I saw you on her show before.
I know. Well, I mean, how do I stay away? I can't stay away from Deanna. Well, we're going to drag Kelsey Bigelow into this mess. This is her fault now. This is, it's all poetry. We have to figure out what it means. We have to know a couple good poems.
See, like everybody knows that to have PubSite build your site for you is $4.99.
They know better than we do sometimes. That's what I think.
Better than you do, maybe.
Anti-advertising. I don't know. Chris Brogan, though. Look, I got a new one. Look,
bobblehead.
Bobblehead.
So
Chris Brogan.
I would say, so that's like the before Rajlaw Fitness, and then the other one with his shirt ripped open, like he's, in a James Bond movie. The other Chris Brogan action figure, that one's the after.
I like that they got my effed up hair just right. Like the part and everything. My effed up hair is perfect.
Will you just stop it? There's nothing wrong with your hair except that it needs a comb. It's yours.
How's that? Okay. Let's get Kelsey. Hi, Kelsey.
Hi.
Where do you stand on this hair? No, I'm just kidding.
I think it looks great.
Do you have any poems on hair?
On hair? No.
What's your
first started writing poetry like in grade school, right?
Yeah. So like way back when we all first learned what poetry is in like 6th grade, and it's like really short lines that are really rhythmic and they all rhyme. And I hated it because I can't rhyme. And I was like, oh, I don't, not for me. I'm not a rhymer. But then, it was like 8th grade when we were, this is really random. We were learning the prepositions. And for some reason, something in my brain was like, oh, write a poem about like with all these prepositions and you'll remember it. And I did. And then, it just kind of took off from there. It was all like, oh, sorry. It was like all like,
you get so into it, Kelsey.
I know, I get so passionate. It was all like private teenage angst stuff that I don't share with anybody until like college when it became a thing.
Your preposition poem got you hooked on poetry.
Apparently.
So there's a dividing line from people who write poetry and people who are okay at writing poetry. How do you know? Because no one taps you on both shoulders. Like no one gives you the poetry wand and says, okay, you're a poet now. So how do you know that you should be able to call yourself one?
I've never been asked how I determined to call myself one. I think it's one of those things where if it's your passion and you're doing it and you are feeling good about it, you're sharing it, you don't even have to share it. You just have to be writing it. You can call yourself a poet. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. I mean, there are writers all over the world that call themselves a writer, even if they haven't published anything or like publicly shared anything. You just have to be doing it. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad.
You are,
and that's subjective,
poet, though, right?
I am, yes, which is still surreal, but yeah, I've had I published my own book, and I have 7 publications now in different anthologies and online journals. Yeah.
And you find time to podcast.
Yeah. Well, I'm not officially like podcast host. Oh yeah, that's my book. It's also, back there. Sprig of Lilac is my poetry collection.
No, you wrote those after the death of your mother.
Yes. So
very powerful.
Yeah, that's kind of where this kind of clicked for me, was my sophomore year of college. I was in a creative writing class, and my mom passed away that semester. And before my mom passed away, I was writing, well, still really crappy teenage angst. And then after my mom passed away, I kind of channeled all my grief into that. And something clicked. It became my coping mechanism. And after so many years of writing all my my grief into a poem, I had this collection, and it became no longer just for me. It was for people who need to work through grief in maybe a different way. People who need to read from somebody who's been through it. Yeah.
When I was looking through your site, which is why if my face looked a little floaty, I was like, I'm trying to pick up a new piece of your site to put on the screen. Spoken word is sort of a part of poetry. And people misunderstand. They think that reading poetry is spoken word. It's not the same thing. You talk a little bit about that and sort of your experience with that?
Yeah. So there's essentially two larger versions of poetry. There's I'm a page poet, and I'm a spoken word poet. There's also a third level, I suppose, which is the slam poet, which is the competition part. Spoken word specifically is the performance piece of reading poetry out loud. Anybody can read their poetry out loud, but if you're not adding choreography and using intonation and dynamics in your voice, and different tempos to what you're saying to really bring your audience in, you're just sharing your poetry out loud. But that performance aspect is what makes it spoken word. And then people take it another level by adding the competition to it, and that's where slam comes in. So,
was that terrifying to perform your work in front of people for the first time?
Always is. I didn't actually perform my do spoken word until about 3 years ago when I moved to Des Moines, and I met the founder of the Des Moines Poetry Slam, and she convinced me to go on stage, and I was like, I'm just here to listen. And I was mortified, but I got on stage, and afterwards I was still terrified, but I was going to do it for the rest of my life.
Now, by convinced, I need to know what this looks like. She just drag you up there.
Yep.
You'll be fine.
Like, I'm signing you up. And I was like, oh God. Okay.
Good luck.
Here we go. Yeah.
You have on your blog something about poetry and its application to business. This is ostensibly a business show. That's what we tell grown-ups, so it's not true. But we do. What does poetry offer business? Why should a business person be sitting here going, oh, I totally need to get some more Kelsey?
Yeah. So there's a couple layers to that. Me personally, so I'm a marketer by day. I have my 9 to 5 as well as my poetry career. And being a poet was one part of the reason I got this job, so they tell me, because being a poet has an extra layer of empathy that not a lot of people have, and the ability to tell a really detailed story very concisely and in a way that connects different. It hits different. And it's just a unique skill that I think employers overlook sometimes. It's not even employers overlooking it. It's us poets not putting it on our resume. And so they don't know that you have that skill. But the other layer to that is if companies were to bring poets into like their town hall meetings or to work with the HR department on a culture video or something, your mission statement, your vision statement, your commitment to diversity and inclusion, and all these things can be much more impactful and memorable to your employees if you bring a poet in who has those experiences or has the skill to relay your mission in a way that is going to stick in their brain more than just like, oh, here's our mission statement. So that's kind of the thought.
Chloe binge watched all of your poems on YouTube
last
night.
I saw that. I was like, oh my God, someone I don't know is commenting on all my videos. This is great.
Someone in Scotland. So now you have a fan in Scotland.
She's in Scotland?
Fan in Scotland now.
I studied abroad in Scotland in college.
I'm just taking in the background of Raj there for a minute. Okay.
We can see backstage. Nobody, you can't, but we can.
I want to show a little bit of Kelsey.
Changed so much.
Something to behold.
Happy World Poetry Day, guys. I promised some of my Twitter writing community that I would polish up my pandemic poem and share it for the International Poetry Circle. And so this has not been fully polished or workshopped or anything like that, but this is my current draft. So
it has now.
Here you go. A pandemic teaches you a lot. It teaches you we can be thrown into isolation like a New Year noisemaker deserted in a public ashtray, because aren't they the same thing? Aren't they small moments of bliss slowly ending our aliveness while we crack jokes as if staying home was the party we were preparing for? Then our jokes turned to panic as we watched ash replace people and humanhood fade into I miss yous and stay safes. It teaches you that half-full parking ramps are still too full, and groups of teenagers on the street still scare you, but mostly out of fear for them because the churches have all gone to sleep and their bells chime like cannons sending off fallen tributes. It teaches you day-to-days are expendable. Compassion soothes loneliness, hugs our treasure. How are you isn't just a Midwestern greeting anymore, and windows are reminders that normalcy may exist again, or at least that it used to. It teaches you balcony songs are for community, video chats are for the soul, and that you are not alone. You are not alone, and even if you are not alone.
Ooh.
Guys, stay safe.
Oh my God, that poem has changed so much since then.
It's got to be hard to watch yourself. I was thinking that. I was like watching you watch yourself.
It's like,
And
oh
I thought,
God.
there's no chance she's enjoying this. I feel really bad.
Or at least
Kate
that
wants
it
to
teaches
offer
you
poems.tv.
songs are for community.
Poems.tv.
Wow.
I have a little notepad over here that I've been taking notes. One of the notes I totally forgot I was going to say to Raj is that tacos in a cornfield, there's a poem in that. Just saying. We'll
I like
collab.
that.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
No, Raj, you should start writing that now. Just, move some dildos out of the way at the gym. Sit down, grab a pad of paper, and just let it go.
Imagine brush a few dildos off the bench.
I mean, you could work out, or you could write some poetry about tacos in a cornfield.
Yeah.
I know what I'd pick.
When you talk about polishing a poem like that, what changes? What do you wipe out full things like churches and bells has to go now or whatever? Like how does that work? What pieces break? What goes?
It depends. That's one that I brought to my poetry workshop. We moved virtual once the pandemic hit, and I brought that to them. And what we do is I don't speak at all when my piece is being workshopped because I want to hear their interpretations and what they're drawn to, and then see if that's aligning with what I wanted them to get. And then if it didn't, I have to change either the metaphor or the line break or the overall rhythm of the piece, or maybe one word has a totally different meaning to somebody else, to most of them, than it did to me, and so I have to find a different word. It's things like that. Sometimes whole things get cut, but not always, but sometimes.
So Kara from Scotland says she feels like she missed something. Was it
All
the
right,
dildos?
we'll start the show over.
It was
Kara.
probably there's probably the dildos. That was
Probably.
from earlier when we were talking with Raj Law Fitness about a very unusual gym that he works at. So we'll bring that back for you in a little bit.
And Fazia says, "Can we hear the current version?
Oh.
Is it handy?
Maybe.
Can you scare it up somewhere nearby?"
Yeah, we keep chatting while I do the awkward. Let me search through my
Steve Garfield in
drive.
Fenway Park.
He voted in Fenway Park.
I
think he's saying he's not like in Fenway Park right this minute, but yeah, he apparently you can vote. Like it must be a polling place, Fenway Park.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Well,
I
they
bet the
saw Mark
turnout was
Cuban
better
do it, and they
just for
decided
that.
they could do it. Yeah.
To vote in Fenway Park?
No, Mark Cuban did it with the Mavs facilities. He opened it all up because, as they're trying to suppress voting, there's a lot of people fighting to not do that. So,
well, it is interesting. I'm not going to get into politics, but there's been some like crazy long lines at polling places, and it's just because they have not enough of them, like in certain areas. So,
yes, but then there's also a stat coming out of Georgia that said that Black people waited in line on the average 51 minutes, and white people on average waited 6 minutes, based on sort of polling locations. So that gets even crazier. But
so Steve says this is a haiku, Kelsey. Hello from Boston, where I voted yesterday inside Fenway Park. That was a haiku.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I am not a haiku writer, so I appreciate people who can write haikus.
I used to have a t-shirt that said haikus are, I think it was like haikus are funny, but sometimes they don't make sense. Refrigerator.
All right, ready to go.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think this actually changed as much as I think it did. I think I just got more comfortable with it.
You just got better at it.
Or something. All right. There's still no title. A pandemic teaches you a lot. It teaches you we can be thrown into isolation like a New Year noisemaker deserted in a public ashtray because aren't they the same thing? Aren't they small moments of bliss, slowly ending our aliveness while we crack jokes as if staying home was the party we were preparing for, then our jokes turned to panic as we watched ash replace people and humanhood fade into I miss yous and stay safes. It teaches you that half-full parking ramps are still too full and groups of teenagers on the street still scare you, but mostly out of fear for them because the churches have all gone to sleep, but their bells still chime like sending cannons, sending off fallen tributes. It teaches you day-to-days are expendable, compassion soothes loneliness, hugs are treasure. How are you isn't just a Midwestern greeting anymore, and windows are reminders that normalcy may exist again, or at least that it used to. It teaches you balcony songs are for community, video chats are for the soul, and that you are not alone. You are not alone. And even if you are not alone. I don't think it changed as much as I thought it did. I think I just learned how to read it.
You got a ring light. That's the big difference
That's the difference. Yes. I also moved. So yeah,
Yes. You moved. Moving in a pandemic must have been super fun.
Oh, it was so fun.
Nobody will help you. Now they have an excuse, so nobody's going to help you move. They didn't want to do it before. Now they have a reason to say no.
Yeah, they get nothing.
Yep.
All right. We are absolutely at the panel part of the show. We are going to drag Raj Law back on. Boop, just like that.
Chris was watching you flex back there. He was getting
I was into it.
Oh, that was I didn't even know I could be seen until that happened.
Only by us.
Well, luckily, listen, if your finger went anywhere near your nose, you were going on screen. So,
damn it. You're like a sniper.
That's what I do. It's
So-
all I live for.
If you go, I just want to tell everybody, if you go to Raj Law's Instagram, you're not going to see lots of pictures of him flexing. I just want to tell you that up front. There's a lot of inspirational quotes and helpful information and stuff. So not saying that I was disappointed, but just your expectations.
I know there's no shirt. I wear no shirt. I put on a shirt for this interview. That was it.
Thank you.
That's my limit.
So did Chris.
That's all I got.
So did I. But I mean, we all have our sacrifices to make.
We do. But it's true. One of the ways I think about explaining that to people is that Raj is a lot of what I see. My favorite religious people, you'd barely know they're religious. They're just doing it. Raj has that, the everything, and he just wears clothes.
Secret.
It's like poetry in a way. I think it's like poetry because there's nobody that walks down the street and thinks, I bet she's a poet.
You never know.
If you wear a beret, and
right.
Kerry,
you gotta catch me. Got to catch me in the coffee shop with the black turtleneck. It's a true thing that I do have.
I like that.
Not in the coffee shop during the
outfit.
pandemic.
I read my poetry one time in high school because my teachers made me they had to select a student to go do a reading in a community on Cape Cod, which is full of authors and artists and poets and stuff. And I didn't want to, so I went and I let my boyfriend's mom pick out my dress, and it was this electric purple multi-tiered dress.
Damn.
And as soon as I walked in, they're like, "This is a poet." I'm like, okay. But then later on, a much more accomplished poet came up, and she was dressed like a cheerleader who just threw on a jacket. So I felt
any outfit.
Yeah. And what does a poet look like? I guess now we know.
Poet.
That's a poem right there. That was beautiful.
Thank you. I worked on it for 30 whole seconds. So can we get a flex since nobody got to see it? And I feel there it is.
It's always available.
You're welcome, everyone.
Wow.
We need a person of the day, Chris.
If we had done this at the beginning of the show, just think what we would have had. I was going to out myself in one thing. That one of my 9 books that I wrote is called Superheroes in the Basement. Not really poetry from a nerdy life. So this is the only good thing about this whole thing is a cover from Josh Fisher. So it's me kind of
cover. Do you like the cover?
I also enjoyed your other book, Chris. All Superheroes Don't Wear Capes. That's
right.
It was a great book.
Yeah, I have that one.
Yeah, but that's a real one. We can't do that. All right. So
Write a
listen,
poem about your biceps.
Oh, I will. I'll do it.
well, so I have one last question. Then we'll do the backpack question, and we also have a person of the day to put together. So, my question to both of you is: in this land of the demics of Pan, how are you reinventing yourself? That's the question. So, I guess Kelsey, you moved and you picked up a new gig, and you're doing all this other stuff.
I decided to do literally everything at once. I got engaged, bought a house, started grad school, working full time, started the side gig with the Poet Life, and still doing poetry things. I don't know how I'm doing it all, but I am. I'd say the biggest thing is that I've really made strides in my poetry networking, essentially, by reaching out to other poets, finding other online communities, because that's the only place we all exist right now. And I think, getting connected to the Poet Life was probably the biggest one for me.
Raj.
Yeah.
Nice. I am just enjoying talking about mindset stuff more. I didn't realize that's what I enjoy the most until the pandemic hit, and I just had lots of time to think and reflect. And I was like, well, I like working out. I'll write workout programs, but I'm never excited to write one. I'd like to tell you, like, in-person training, great. Writing programs, I'll do it. But I'd rather talk about mindset stuff. Look at that, Kenny G.
Look at this Instagram, you guys.
Look at that. It's weird. I don't like taking pictures. I don't like taking pictures. Oh, look at, there it is.
There it was.
Yeah.
Go a little lower.
Yeah, there we go. That's just a casual workout fit.
Well, as you do. Yeah. You got to be comfortable in your own skin.
Or Mario skin. It's me.
You work out your lips.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's a sponsored post.
No way. For your lip.
4 lip balm. 4 ingredients. Look at that. Oh, the
We reached that part of the
you've seen
program.
this morning.
Okay.
So everyone who showed up here late, you missed all of that. And then
You get
then
no
this happened.
context.
All right. We got to do Person of the Day. So Person of the Day is sponsored by PubSite, pub-site.com, Fazia Burke, FSB Associates.
Yay.
My Person of the Day is Mari Sheehy Lynch, who showed up and said, wait a minute, is this rated PG?
And we said no.
We said no. So I think that's a good Person of the Day.
We didn't even say PG-13. We were just like, no, probably not.
That was so wonderful. That's like the Smucker's Person of the Day.
Smuckers
They
just
don't have
redid their
to be
logo, and now they're
99.
getting made fun of for it. Nobody likes the new Smuckers logo. It's awful.
Well, if it ain't broke,
Don't fix it.
thank
I
you.
gotta check this out. I gotta check
Now the
this
question
out.
is this: what goes in your backpack? The question is, you have, it's a tough world out there, shifting sands. We can't really rebuild a solid foundation. You can only carry a backpack worth of stuff, which I'm kind of feeling like Kelsey knows about firsthand, because the way the pandemic worked and moving, you have nothing for a while. You can only put one thing in your backpack. It could be physical. It could be metaphorical. So it could be whatever you want. Some of the best answers in the past have been things like hope, stick-to-itiveness,
Fearlessness.
That's a word.
fearlessness, gumption, and sometimes people put physical things like an avocado.
A book you don't like. That Whiskey Nate said a book you don't like, which I
A
thought
book
was
you don't
interesting.
like.
It's like you're going to read it until you like it.
I like that.
All right.
So what
Yeah.
goes in your backpack? Who's got one?
Oh, I'd just say the biggest book you own that you haven't read.
Just to work out.
Infinite
Bro.
Jest, probably.
Yeah. David Foster Wallace is on a lot of people's shelves. Never went.
Do you want to carry my biggest book?
I would love to. How big is it?
She's probably got the
It's
OED
like-
or something.
It's
Oh,
big.
perfect. I'll learn something from it.
679 pages. That's Dune.
I just got that
Not
too.
long.
Yeah, you have to.
Sweet.
You have to, because what if Timothy Chalamet wrecks it?
That's true.
I got it. All
I
right.
need an assortment. Kelsey, what about you? What goes in the backpack?
For me, this was a really hard one, but I think I would say authenticity. You gotta be authentically yourself to get anywhere. You gotta make your life yours.
Bam.
So when you tell your parents you want to be a poet, were they like, that doesn't pay anything? Pff, great.
That's everybody says that. That's the mission of the Poet Life is there's money in poetry. We're proving that.
See, there we go. What would? Oh yeah, gotta do those squats as you read.
Yes, Kate.
Yeah.
Kelsey's on Twitter.
Yes,
on all the
KKB poetry all over. Yeah.
You notice
Well-
she didn't ask about your Instagram, Raj.
It's
I don't-
okay. There's nothing there. I don't like. I'm randomly on all the social medias except for Friendster. That's it. In MySpace.
Friendster.
Oh, MySpace, rip.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Oh, Dane Cook. I'll put some awareness in that backpack. Always got to be aware of yourself, what's going on, so you can be a better person to yourself and the world.
If we got rule breakers on this show, you get one thing, Raj. I don't know.
Damn it. I thought it was more than one. Wow.
Although you did mention people were carrying around like 5 backpacks worth of negative
Right. You maybe you have
emotion
5 things you could put in the back.
self-criticism.
I
Yeah.
cheated. I incepted 4 more backpacks into this call.
I wish for 3 more wishes.
No. No.
Oh,
I am
well,
interested to see if you start writing poetry, Raj.
I
What do
might.
you mean
Hit me up
start?
if you need help.
What do you mean?
What
Okay.
are you and Raj in a poetry exchange and you're just
We
waiting till
plan.
now to tell us?
2 slams.
Feel like
Yeah.
possibly.
You want to hear this poem I wrote for my grandmother?